How do we find equation of a line from the graph? Let us learn. I am Anil Kumar. Welcome to my YouTube channel and the website Global Math Institute. In this video, we will learn how do we find equation of line from the given graph. We have 6 examples to understand. The steps involved are very clearly mentioned here. First step is to identify 2 points on a line. So a straight line will always pass through 2 points minimum, right? So we'll call these points as x1 and x2. These 2 points actually define your line. And the gradient or the slope can be calculated by y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Once you know the slope, in that case, you can write the equation as y equals to mx plus b. Now, the value of b sometimes can be found directly from the graph. So, you read the y-intercept. Else, you can substitute a point and find the y-intercept. So, we are going to learn this strategy soon. In case you want to learn directly from me, feel free to send an email on globalmathinstitute@gmail.com. Let me also thank all the viewers and subscribers for watching my videos. Our students are right there on the top. So, at early stages, they learn so much that by high school, they are actually ready for the best universities. We have been providing absolutely free services for the last 15 years. Now we have more than 17,000 videos which are being watched over 80 countries. Every day we upload a video, sometimes even more. Now, the idea is to reach globally to remote areas where quality education is not really available or is too expensive. Your donations and contributions can help. Please contribute. I hope it makes sense. So, those of you who can contribute, please do. Okay, great. Let's get back to our set of 6 questions. You know the strategy. We'll follow these steps one by one with 6 examples. Here is the very first example. So now let's identify 2 points which can help us find equation of a line. So one point in this particular line which goes through the origin is origin itself. The other point which is good to read is at 1 we have a value 2. So let me label these points as A and B. So point A for us is 0, 0, and point B is, you can see from the scale, 2, so half is 1, so 1, 2, right? Now, we are going to write the equation in the form y equals to mx plus b. Now, here you can see the line goes through the y-axis, and so the value of b is clearly also equal to 0, right? Which is this particular value, correct? We need to only find the slope m, and slope m can be calculated by y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's do the needful to find the slope and then the equation of the line. So slope m, you can choose any point as the first or the second. We'll choose b as the second point. So y2 is the y value 2 here, 2 minus 0 over 1 minus 0. That gives you the slope of 2 by 1 or 2. And therefore, we already know that b is 0. So therefore, the equation is y equals to 2x plus b, where b is 0. Therefore, we have y equals to 2x, right? Since b equals to 0. So I'm rewriting it because that is not always the case. Well, this is also known as direct variation, right? Whenever a line goes through the origin, it is also called direct variation. So sometimes in application questions, we may use that term. But anyway, we found the equation. Any line going through the origin will have the y-intercept at the origin, right? So b is 0. Let's take up the next example. Now, in this example, you see that the line is dropping down. That means decreasing, right? That means the slope m should be less than 0, means a negative slope is being expected. So when you look at a figure, you should try to understand what could be the equation, right? Secondly, we also know here that b is equal to 0. So we have an equation as if y equals to mx. Makes sense, right? So we just need to find the 2 points and the slope. So the first point, let's call this as P, and the other point Q, right there, right? So let me write down the points. P is 0, 0, and Q is minus 2, 1, right? Okay, great. So from these 2 points, we can write down the slope m, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and clearly minus 2 minus 0 over, sorry, minus 1, y values, right? 1 minus 0 over minus 2 minus 0 gives us 1 over minus 2. Or we can say m is minus half. Makes sense, right? So the equation is y equals to minus half x, right? We know that b is 0 since it is going through origin, correct? So very easy to figure this out. Perfect. So direct variation, once again, we'll also call this as a direct variation since the line is going through the origin, right? Now, let's take up the example, and this time you can see that line is not going through the origin, right? So 2 points identified are the intercepts. They are good points, right? So this is called partial variation. Many times, like if you have an example where the water is draining out, it may start from some point and then drain out. There you have something like this partial variation. Well, we want to write an equation in the form y equals to mx plus b. We can identify from the graph that b is equal to 1, right? That is the y intercept. So you see y intercept, which is the value of b, is 1. So we know b is 1. Now let's write down the 2 points as A and B. So the point A for us is the y-intercept 0, 1, and point B for us is 2, 0, the x-intercept. So we can now find the slope, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Change in y values, so 0 minus 1 over change in x values, 2 minus 0, which gives us minus 1 over 2. Line is dropping, so it is negative gradient, right? So we can write the equation as y equals to minus half x, and the value of b is 1. Perfect. So absolutely clear, right? So with that, we have taken up an example where the y-intercept is not the origin. It's a partial variation. Well, I hope you are learning, and in case you want to learn directly from me, feel free to send an email on globalmathinstitute@gmail.com. So when we are teaching a topic, it is not just finding equation of a line. As we are moving along, you have also learned what is direct variation, what is partial variation. There could be cases where the line may or may not go through the origin, right? Now let's take up the next example. Now in this example, you see the line is rising, and therefore we expect the gradient m to be greater than 0, right? Increasing. Correct. So let's identify the y-intercept first as good point, and we know the value of b is minus 1 here, right? So the point A, which I've identified, is actually at 0 x value, y value is minus 1. Another point B, let's look into it carefully. So we can see this is a good point, right? So where the x value is 1 and the y value is 3, correct? So read the graph properly. Correct. So we got all these values. We want to now write an equation y equals to mx plus b. So clearly, we have to first find the value of slope m, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And in this case, 3 and minus 1, right? 3 minus minus 1. Do you see that? And 1 minus 0. So that means 3 plus 1 over 1, or slope m is equal to 4. It's a very steep gradient, right? So this line is really rising very fast. Steep, right? Much steeper than the others which we took in our examples. So we know now that slope is 4 and the y-intercept is minus 1. So therefore, the equation will be y equals to 4x minus 1. Makes sense, right? So we have written the equation directly. Perfect. So let's move on to a different kind of a question. Now, in this question, what you notice is that you cannot read the y-intercept, correct? Do you see that? So that portion where the y-intercept could have been read has been eliminated from the graph. It's a purpose, right? The idea is to now identify 2 points. One is good. I'm just marking this as 2, 0. Okay, great. And another point, let's look at the graph and see. This is a good point, right? So this is a good exercise, identifying the right points where you can read accurately, right? So 1 minus 2. So once you've done that, now you can find the slope, right? So we can say m is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that means minus 2 minus 0 over 1 minus 2, which is minus 2 over minus 1. So we get a slope of minus 2 divided by minus 1 will be positive 2. Of course, line is increasing, so we know the slope m should be greater than 0. It's positive. Now, I can write the equation as y equals to 2x plus b. But what is b and how do we find this? This is what you're going to learn in this video and then apply this knowledge in the next video rather than the next question. Okay? To find the value of b, we'll choose one of these points. Let me choose the point A. So what I mean to say is we'll substitute the x value as 2, y as 0 to find b. So we have y as equal to 0. So we get 0 equals to 2 times 2 plus b, right? So we substituted the values here, which is x equals to 2 and y equals to 0. And so we got this equation. Do you see that? How we got this equation, correct? So y is 0, x is 2. So these are the 2 points. X is 2, y is 0. Perfect? Okay, great. Let's now solve for b. So 2 times 2 is 4. So get minus 4 equals to b. So we get the value of b. Perfect. Once we know the value of b, we can substitute it back into our equation. We know m is 2 for us, right? And therefore, the equation y equals to 2x minus 4 becomes the value. Correct? And it is correct because you can see that b is less than 0, right? It will intercept the y-axis somewhere in the negative portion. So that makes sense. Is that clear to you? So once you get a result, verify that does it look right to you? It does. It does, right? So hope you are getting. So in case you want to learn, feel free to send an email. Most of our students are extremely successful. They get admission to the best universities, the universities they want, courses they want. They can choose. Perfect. Last example for you, slightly difficult. I'd like you to now pause the video, answer this question, get the equation of this line. Okay, great. So, first step is to identify the 2 points. Here again, I will use x-intercept as my first point, which is minus 2, 0. And the second point could be what? Well, this seems to be a good point. For me, b, which is minus 1, and that is minus 3, right? So we get minus 1 minus 3 as our second point. So idea is to write an equation in the terms of y equals to mx plus b. We know that m is less than 0, right? And we know that b is also less than 0, right? Okay, great. So let's find the slope first, right? Okay, so we get this y equals to mx plus b. First find slope m. So m, as you know, is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So the 2 points will be minus 3 minus 0 over minus 1 minus minus 2, which is minus 3 over minus 1 plus 2, correct? Or you can write this m as minus 3 over minus 1 minus 2 is 1 or negative 3. Makes sense, right? You can see negative 3 means you go down 3 steps from here, right? So each step is 1 unit. So 1 step, 2 step, and 3 steps down, minus 3 and 1 right, correct? So that gives you a slope. You understand? Minus 3 over 1, correct? 1 down or 3 down, 1 right, correct. Now we can write the equation as y equals to minus 3x plus b. Now to find the value of b, we can use one of these points. I think a good point to use is a minus 2, 0. So we'll plug in these points, right? So 0 for y, right? Minus 2 for x, right? To find b. That gives us 0 equals to plus 6 now, right? 3 times 2, and that gives me b as minus 6, correct? Since b is minus 6, now we know that y should be equal to minus 3x minus 6. Make sense? Since b is minus 6. Do you see how we go hand to hand? So we just figure out what is required and then find it out. Is that clear to you? Correct? So that is how we should be working on this. Well, I hope you have understood. And in case you really want to contribute towards our channel, which is actually your channel, we try to provide you with questions and the solutions which you need, right? So you can contribute. And you can also discuss with us how you can do regular support to this particular channel. Email is globalmathinstitute@gmail.com. Thanks for your time. All the best. Bye.